Hello, everyone. Today, I want to make another video on altcoins, especially what we are all waiting for, which is the massive, hopefully, alt season, and how to react when that time comes, if it comes, right? One thing that I can already assure you, because again, this is just my opinion, how I see it. It doesn't mean at all. I think it's obvious, but I'm going to repeat it just in case. It doesn't mean it has to happen that way or that it will repeat. Nothing like that. It is just my interpretation. Okay. But if things get going hard, if BTC dominance finally drops, I wouldn't try to outsmart the market. Your PTSD, everyone's PTSD, the constant wall of worry we've been through this whole bull market is gonna show up in that moment. Many people are gonna leave and exit quite early. They might see every or pretty much every coin pushing and they're gonna regret it because they're gonna start thinking, what if this is the real old season? What if I fucked up after 3 years of perhaps drawdowns in their altcoins? And that's gonna mess them up and probably chase higher, right? We all, or many people, are here apparently trading high time frames, but let's be honest. Most people don't want to trade high time frame. They want instant rewards, right? They've been tracking the trading view and all the chats daily, hourly, because I mean, if you can get the money earlier, why wait weeks or months, right? But that's not how the markets work. Especially nowadays when everyone wants instant gratification, it's way easier to trap people to frustrate them, right? So I'm fully convinced that most people are gonna ruin this because of them, not because of the market, not because it's going to be super difficult technically speaking. It's mostly emotions, it's mostly PTSD, fear, greed, whatever you want to call it, right? And I'm sure, I mean, literally speaking, I can't be really sure, right? But that's how I feel. I'm sure that by the time people think, okay, perhaps this is it, this is the time to see everything pumping, and you relax and you just open random charts of coins you have never heard of just because you're looking for the next rotation. That's the kind of relaxation that market makers will probably want you to feel, and that's when you get trapped. So enough chit chat. So let's get into it. I'm gonna chart the biggest all season we've had so far, which was 2021, and with a few big examples. But then Solana, Doge, Cardano, Ethereum, and I'm also gonna talk about the injective in this cycle because I think it's very. This is one coin I rode from $9 to 50, and then I held down to 38, and that was when I sold, luckily. So this is the weekly chart, right? I've been mentioning the daily divergences or high RSI levels just to get an idea of what might come next. But we have to be aware that when BTC dominance decides to drop, we can see huge returns week after week after week, with some perhaps some profit taking, and we keep pushing, right? So there's a moment that if we get to that euphoria phase, this is what we see: non-stop pushing, right? Let's see Solana, what it did from December to the first top in April. First of all, the weekly, it pushed pretty much non-stop until 96 RSI. Everything above, I would say 85, but if you want to stretch it a little bit more, everything above 90 is pure euphoria. It's get out, right? If you want to try to be like extremely, I don't know, accurate and you want to get a little bit more, which I don't recommend, perhaps you could open the daily and see what it was doing back then. First of all, April 19th, right? That was the week that it topped. I mean, you think, I don't know, but by then you are driven by euphoria and you think could go higher because everyone's talking about it. It's the real winner of this cycle, blah, blah, blah. And it dropped 60% from this candle. I'm not going to consider this one, but if you want, it's a 66. 60%. It's not only about the drop, right? Because if you get a gold entry down here, I mean, you would be big. It would be up on a big time. The thing is, sorry, this is the date range. The thing is, from here to here, 3 months. Going down, chopping, this was a whole summer move, right? And then we had the second push in 2021. I remember this. Everyone just paying attention to what Solana was doing every single day, right? This is similar. It was kind of similar to Luna back then. It was ridiculous. When you get that kind of attention, you can't. I mean, you have to. This is the time. These weeks we are having, like preparation weeks. This is the time for you to accept, to tell yourself you're not gonna snag the top. Forget about it. You might even miss this last push. I don't care how much. Imagine you exit here, right? Because I don't know. Perhaps here you feel afraid. You think, okay, it's going above, but whatever. This week in the weekly, in the daily looks bad for you, and you just leave all this behind. It's another almost 200%. You don't know. Many coins did shit in this second run. We don't know. So first of all, if everything gets going, the first rule of this for me, if you see something like this, which is completely ridiculous, you get out, man. It's 96. If you go to the weekly, 96 on 19th of April, right? Sorry, if we go to the daily and we check what Solana was doing back then, 19th April here, right? On the daily, we already had a few overheated levels, 83, which is not as ridiculous as this one, which was 90, right? So what do you do here? This will be your first test. You see this, you start thinking it's overheated. Perhaps you panic and sell before any divergence because, I mean, we are analyzing this after the fact, but when you see this, you see it can't climb back. You might think it's over, right? And if we compare it to what BTC dominance was doing back then, it had the first big drop. And it was like, what? Finding a bottom here? Let's see the BTC dominant chart, right? This was February, March. Thing is, it was still below the MA. And it was being rejected by Fibonacci. So if I take a look at the daily here in Solana, I don't know what to do. I don't have enough information, right? So you either panic because you've been frustrated for all this time, you think that's enough, which is a good run. Imagine you I don't know, you bought here or wherever, you bought here, right? And you decide to leave here. It's a 3x. Or you hold here, it's a 7x. Thing is, what would you do? You need more confluence. But if you manage somehow to be lucky and get out on the weekly, the 19th of April, which is here, pretty much. That's insane. That's 90 something, 96, I think we said. But if you're super lucky and you still don't want to live here, you start seeing these first signs of top formation, because from here you see that we have a push, but we couldn't break on the neck, and we chopped from April to May while losing strength. You had like almost a whole month between 50 and 40, which is 20% range, to leave the market, right? After reaching, I don't know why TradingView is doing this today. After reaching 96, I mean, this would be the easiest scenario. If you somehow play like a degen and you are as lucky as to go through this move, you have plenty of time daily wise. And considering everyone is pretty much checking the charts daily, we have plenty of time. And then you check BTC dominance. Here we have the initial rejection, right, in March, and it kept dropping. This is something no one can predict. No one. So that's why some people say to take profit progressively, to have some kind of targets. But when you are in price discovery, having targets is difficult. You can apply some Fibonacci. Let's say this is the only Fibonacci you can apply back here, right? Where do I take profit? I mean, 2.6, it's ridiculously high. We can say that perhaps here, the golden ratio, you decide to take profit, 13, right? It's a big run if you manage to get here in the lows. If I take profit on the golden ratio here, RSI is 86, and this was March 1st, March 1st was around here, right? It wasn't really oversold, but you don't know what's going to do next. Here in December, it wasn't really that oversold, right? 42 for BTC dominance, and it dropped. And it pushed back up. Weekly it pushed back up the same way the BTC has retested and climbed from that RSI level on the weekly that I have been speaking for quite some time. It's because it wasn't over, the cycle wasn't over for BTC. The same here, it wasn't over for BTC dominance, but the time it is over, it might push really hard. And after all we've been through, I would be ready for that possibility. But I would be tracking, and if I have some doubts, I perhaps take profit progressively. Although, I'm gonna be honest, my initial idea is to just get out completely. I would rather leave money on the table than backhole another drop, because mentally it is exhausting. So let it run. If things get going, I would let it run. Right? That's why I trade weekly cycles. And perhaps when I see the weekly entering overheated territory, I check the daily. Let's see this December 23. I see that perhaps we've been chopping around these 80 something, that perhaps, yeah, this looks a bit overextended. I don't know. Let's see what the daily was doing back then. 23, we said. October, November. Look, we had the daily RSI going down, right? Breaking below, but price was pretty much just going sideways. That normally happens when the asset is really strong, which we're gonna see that in injective. It doesn't mean it has to happen, but when it's strong, it can go sideways. I posted today the BTC could cool off at least stock RSI while price is still pushing, right? Or just it could cool off just by going sideways. That normally happens when the trend is really strong, the higher time frame is really strong, right? Doesn't have to pull back, again pull back, because there would never be a blow off top, right? if you make it all so escalated in such an orderly manner, so to speak. So back in November we had this. Back in December we had another push, right? This was the weekly getting overheated. And this was a divergence. The thing is, when you see this in real time, what would you think? Would you leave here? Because if you leave here with the idea of entering again, based on the daily only, it would still be like a 2x. You would have exit 2x. Even from now, it's 2x less, right? It's around 50, 60. You miss this run to 200, and now even with this drawdown, it's 3x higher. So you gotta go to the weekly. But if you wanna leave for good, you check the monthly. By the way, this is the second. Well, I don't have enough data for Solana in this case, but the monthly here in October, November, 93. When you have this huge run, what else do you expect? Right? That's why I believe this wasn't the top at all back in March. I think this was only a taste of what a big run can do. Pretty much a 10x. Right? And from here, this was ridiculous. The whole cycle, I mean, 154x. Even if you live here, 20x, 30x, pretty much. Ridiculous, right? So I wouldn't try to outsmart the market, especially if BTC dominance finally breaks down. I would just let my coin run, because even if it's the shittiest coin, it can push way higher, way above what we expect. So my logical thinking says that if we have that massive pump in altcoins, right, there weren't so many altcoins. People talk about dilution because the market is very broad. Yes, perhaps not all coins push as hard, but the thing is, BTC back then was around 60k. And if we have an old season now above all-time high, it would be above 110,000k. I think the old season could be ridiculous, just based on that data. If it happens similarly, if we check DOGE, we go to the weekly. I don't think anyone expected this, right? But that's euphoria. This is euphoria. Right? So you have these completely dead coin for its inception, pretty much. Right? You had these spurs, just a little push, 68%. Nah, lose it again. Nothing, sideways. This is boring. This is dead for many. I mean, no one can predict this with a meme, right? Back then. But then, I guess, whales decided to have some fun, like Elon. So you have these first push the weekly, right? This is why it's going to be hard. You have 90 on the weekly. It just retraces a little bit, and then you keep pushing, right? In February, this was mania, people chasing, right? They keep pushing this, and then you see, okay, there's no divergence. Yes, but it's 98 now. I mean, it was crazy here, 90, 98. What else do you expect? This was February. It drops 50%, and it was like from February to April, right? To March. This kind of price action is what really makes people feel confident and relaxed. Because back then, after such a huge move, 50% was, just chilling. I mean, people wasn't scared by this drop, because, I mean, they were like completely fed with all this move. It's just, people were justifying it. I mean, a 50% drop after such a move is normal, is healthy, they said. When you see people saying these kind of moves are healthy, it's because they've been fed and they are really carrying heavy bags, right? And they are in big profit, and they're going to round trip it all. You lose the MA, we don't see this as a bullish price action ever, but we are in an euphoria phase, right? So technically speaking, you can manage these kind of weekly cycles with purely technical aspects, but if you enter euphoria, that's why it's euphoria, because there's no control, there's no logic behind moves, right? And the market can stay I don't really remember the saying, but crazier than longer than you can stay solvent, right? So it's impossible. So let it ride. That's what I will do, right? If I see danger, I get out, or perhaps I just get 50-60% out and just let a moon back and see what happens. I don't know, I will adapt. But I'm sure that I've been waiting for this potential scenario. And I've been through this. The level of stupidity, the amount of time we had to quit the market, it wasn't just a bump in a few days, right? So you have time. The thing is, people start rotating from one to another. Back here, people thought that it was just $1, DOGE to $1, and it was close, right? 78. With a divergence here, another one, right? This move wasn't as strong as this one, right? It was losing steam, 93. It's still ridiculous, but stock RSI, you can see momentum is fading. The thing is, will you get up to here? I don't think it's possible. I mean, you can be lucky once, but this kind of people that get lucky once round trip it all because they gamble that money. They got it easily and they give it up easily, right? So if we go to the daily and see if we find something relevant back then, we can see this is difficult to trade. First move, it went sideways. You could argue that this was a bullish divergence while price was just finding its floor. I mean, it's still holding, but who says that it can't, while it loses its strength, why it can just boom back down, come back down and feel this impulsive move, and then from here to here would be a 70% drawdown, and perhaps then it pushes back up, but we don't know if this is going to happen. That's why your entry matters. If you have a good entry, why wouldn't you risk to let it all run until the higher time frame tells you it's time to leave? This is the weekly, but let's see the monthly to assess and value the cycle. I posted that I wouldn't leave the market until I see true euphoria, right? There is a thread somewhere. And I have Doge, Injective, AVAX. I don't know if any other coin to represent true euphoria. Look at this monthly chart. 94 steadily from January, February, March to 99. I mean, this, I don't know if we will ever see this again. What else do people need to leave this market? Okay, you might say, but if you live here, you miss this. That's insane, man. It's another. Yes, that's why you can leave some money to see if this kind of moon shots happen. But let's be honest. If you get to 95 and you have these consecutive wicks and rejections here, do you really feel safe to bet on this? Because you can try and you can have this feeling, this move to the 1,000 being filled, and you lose pretty much everything. Especially if you bought chasing, you are completely doomed, right? I mean, hindsight technical analysis doesn't work and it's stupid. We need to have a strategy and apply it. But the thing is, my idea is, the key idea of this video is, if everything runs, let it run, right? If BTC dominance crashes this way, that's when these kind of crazy moves happen. This is not technical. This is not, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. This is BTC dominance dropping because people are greedy and want to get the most out of this market. But this is, you necessarily need BTC dominance to go this far for your coin to top. It could have topped earlier, right? I think Cardano is an example of that. But what I wanted to say, this, for example, this drop did nothing to Doge. And you might feel here that, oh, I see every coin running, but mine isn't. That's why you have to have some kind of perspective and analysis on the whole cycle. What's the narrative now? It is back to memes? It's real world assets? Is it gonna be AI like it was for 2023, which I'm gonna use in another Fed, for example, and then in the next chart? So the thing is, let it run. That's what I would do. Here we have an example from this cycle, one that I wrote, because I mean, I'm not gonna fade strength. I bought the breakout around 9. I think it was 9 was here. Yeah, I think this candle. Yeah, more or less here, the breakout. And I saw, and this is something that I have learned, right? Because I try to keep learning. You see these kind of wicks looks like this distribution, right? The cycle could have ended here. The only thing making you hold here is the narrative, and that you believe it's gonna keep pushing, but you don't know what's gonna happen next. The good thing here is that RSI wasn't really fading, right? But then the weekly, 94, right? 94 on the weekly. Imagine you are lucky enough to see the first break after this breakout, this breakdown, and it's here, 36. It's when I sold 38. So I think it wasn't this candle, right? It wasn't. No, it was even later, because it was that price, but it was in March or something, February, because then I started buying ONDO. Yeah, maybe here. I really got lucky, because this was already going down when this kept going up, and I was greedy back here. Even when I saw clearly this kind of rejections, right? I remember the double tap on the 50 or something, and then this wick, this trap, but it was already going down. Back then, everybody was saying that 100 was next, but look at the stock RSI, completely dead. This coin was over, and I still believe this coin is dead for this cycle. It's over. And let me tell you why. This was the weekly 94, but if we go to the monthly, double tap up 83, right? With clear, I would say, distribution waves, that rejections waves. To me, this is dead. 94 on the weekly, a whole year running, 50x, while the market was doing nothing. I remember this perfectly. I remember some of my friends bought around here because YOLO. I don't know if they are still holding, but holy shit, that was a good run. 25x, while the market was doing pretty much nothing altcoin wise. 25x. You see 83 on the monthly. Even here, even if you hold here, it's pretty much the same level. You see that 1, 2, 3, 4 months, 3 extra months, it doesn't go high because there's not much room. It starts fading. And on the weekly, it was completely going down, right? So if you play high time frame, you get the weekly first, then the monthly. You can just try to see the daily, what it was doing the daily. October first really overhit the levels, it came back down, another overhit level with the first bearish divergence on December. You could have left here. What was the weekly on 18th December? How about that? The Pico top. RSI wise. So this is kind of easy to handle, right? But imagine this. Why people held this comfortably back then? Because they were allocated here, so they could have this. The moment it was reclaimed, you could expect another leg, right? Perhaps it stops here. We don't know, right? We don't know. So if you wait for weakness, yes, perhaps you have time. But the thing is, what was BTC dominance doing? It was even rising with it. Just a little chop here and there. So that's why we had so much time, because BTC dominance wasn't dropping hard and bouncing back hard, right? And in fact, another confluence point why I believe this coin is dead is in this decent drop from 60% BTC dominance to 55, which was the Q4 round December, from November to December. This coin did pretty much nothing. This is the lower high, and this is the lower low. Yes, we have a cross now, but if we had a cross here, and it could even make a higher high. This coin is toasted, in my opinion. It's done. I don't care, perhaps you have an exit pump to 50 when everything goes wrong, and it's a 4x or 5x from here. Right? So, this is euphoria. In fact, if you go back to 2020, 2021, this RSI level is pretty much the same in this euphoria phase. What else do we need? These would be ideal. That's why I said when the weekly breaks, let it run, because you don't know how high we're going to go. And I don't know if we're going to have such a stretch, or if it's going to be from October to December, something like this. And something you have to bear in mind is that RSI can get very overheated, but price not move that much. And on the contrary, it can just move a little, but the weekly candles are huge. PEPE is a good example of that, right? Look what BTC was doing here, BTC dominance, right? This is not such a big move as to justify this, but it was the narrative. It was euphoria. It breaks here. You don't know if this is going to happen or if it's just going to be this, which, by the way, was 2x is not a bad move, but look what we had in just 1 week here. 300 something, and the whole move was 11x until pretty much 90 on the weekly. Let's say you hold because you're DJing and you think this is just a starting because BTC dominance is high, this is not old season. Would you really be comfortable holding this? Perhaps you think you would because you see what happened next, but back then you didn't know what was going to happen next. Perhaps you are regretting leaving so much money on the table. There are so many opportunities. Imagine you exit here and then you see this spam or whatever, but then I don't know, you can, as I said in the previous video, you can rotate to BTC, or you can just wait for another, I don't know, perhaps do you think this is a bottom range forming, and you wait for this next breakout to allocate, even if you hold this drawdown again, this will probably run again, but there will be many opportunities. Most people think I'm going to buy once, ride it to the top, and sell the top. That's not easy. I'm not sure it's going to work with just any random coin. The thing is, 88, 89 on the weekly. Huge signs that we haven't seen since yet. And we go to the monthly, not much data, right? But this is one of the examples I want to use. If you even check Ethereum, what's one of the most talked about coins back here in this 2021 cycle? I'm gonna see the monthly. So we have these drops, initial drops on BTC dominance, climbs, BTC dominance spikes back, but Ethereum keeps climbing because, again, narrative, euphoria building, right? So that's why we need several conference points, not just one. And when something is, you let your winners run. That's something that experts say, right? So in the monthly, in April, we got to 89 again. Jesus Christ, this is the monthly, 89. If you go to the weekly, it must be something ridiculous, right? It's this April, January. Look, April, right? And we were lucky enough, in this case, to have a various divergence. Again, you would have probably left here when you see 92, but the thing is there is still no divergence. Perhaps you leave in this divergence, right? And you miss this whole move, another 100x. Again, it's very difficult to snap the pico bottom and pico tops. So you either play the weekly or you stretch it out and play the monthly. Which, by the way, here in the second round was obviously a huge divergence, cycle ending divergence. Do you want to wait for this break and sell on a 3, I don't know, 3.5? Still good profit, right? So the thing is, you gotta focus on and start building a strategy. What am I gonna pay attention to? I mean, look at what the kind of time frame I'm checking now, monthly and weekly. I'm not really paying attention to the daily because I'm looking for cycle exits kind of move, right? So the daily can be very noisy. In fact, I think we are seeing that with BTC now, right? We can see the first daily, well, here, first overheated sign in July. But if we go back to the start of the euphoria phase, the first one was January 6th, and it was 87. You have a burst divergence. Okay, I'm out here. Well, perhaps you're lucky and you spare a 56 drawdown, but then it keeps pushing up and you have another divergence here, which is the top in May. And by then, May, you have a bearish divergence on the weekly. I mean, we would be very, very lucky to see this. Even if you exit here, again, you miss this. But if you exit here, it's because you're being allocated from the bottom or close to, or perhaps this breakout. I mean, it's not a bad run, right? I mean, I guess people say that 5x is shit. Anything below 10x is shit, but I think we are losing touch with reality. So it's going to be hard. Why did I'm gonna use, for example, ONDO, which was one of the coins that I traded. We take a look at the and I'm gonna tell you what I thought, right? I saw this 77 and I didn't think it was over, right? Yes, it's the same level as back here, but the king BTC was fading. And and when I see that, I start seeing what my altcoin is doing because BTC dominance wasn't, right? This was the top. It was already spiking back up, making a higher low. Well, perhaps I didn't sell this. I could have sold this. 50, 160. I mean, was already, I could have said, well, but it's bouncing, it's holding, yes, but what was BTC doing? I mean, I don't have enough signs here on the weekly. And it's not 80 something, 90 something that makes me exit completely. When I have doubts, I go to the lower time frame and I see very overextended on the daily 86. Wait, let's wait for the MA to break at least, or to build a bearish divergence, and it was here. Same as BTC. Pico top, perhaps you sell here, right? In the first impulse that makes the divergence. Perhaps you say here, you then see this and you say, okay, I've been lucky, I've been able to sell around $2, $1.90, whatever. But then you see it keep pushing, like we are seeing with BTC dominance now, by the way, and you think it will keep pushing, but it's another low, right? The same way we are seeing with BTC dominance here. This is the weekly. But on the daily, you can see, man, I just left here and it keeps pushing. What is this shit? But yeah, but it's keep just getting stretched. I don't think it will take much. Same thing happens with our coins, right? So what do I expect? In small bursts, like what we had here, because even if this looks big, this is not a huge drop. Let's take from week to week, right? 10% move, more or less. 10% drop from BTC dominance. That's why the weekly on some coins like ONDO was 70 something. This was not pure euphoria. I mean, you open the weekly chart and this doesn't look, this looks like a typical correction. Even these is huge. It's double this move. That could have sent an ONDO into, or any coin around 70 into 80 something, right? But if we have these, this is ridiculous. I don't really know if we're gonna see this again. But even if it drops from here to, let's say, the bottom, it's 50 or something like that, right? This top, perhaps this is what we have. It's a 20 something, 25%. Let's say around a 25%. That's huge. We haven't seen that in this cycle, right? And not only from BTC, but then from majors to mid caps, small caps, micro caps. If that happens again, you don't really need BTC dominance to drop so much. It's just constant rotation, right? So I will look for what BTC dominance is doing, and especially I will open my coin. When we see BTC dominance dropping, I don't really care what BTC is doing, because by then BTC is probably in distribution or chopping or going sideways, because all the action is in altcoins, right? So I will take a look, like Cardano, we'll take a look at this. 90 on the weekly, 88 on the weekly, sorry, the monthly. This is insane, man. I mean, I would be very happy to see in the monthly such a move. And exiting here, or even here, I don't care. I would wait to see how it closes. This is February. Okay, let's go to the weekly. February, 95. People were lucky back here because it went sideways. You have plenty of time to leave again. What do we have here? 84. We didn't even have time to build a real divergence. It was just a rollover because it wasn't an alt season. This was just a move from BTC dominance dropping a little bit and driving coins to 80, 75, 85, 83, something like that, but not this kind of, as I said, above 85, between 85 and 95, something like that, even 99 or something, as we have seen with other coins. That's euphoria, right? And if we manage to catch that move from the breakout, it could be ridiculous, right? Because we have this first move from this breakout, right? This initial drop from BTC dominance. I'm gonna compare BTC dominance here, right? His first move was from 68 to 58, similar to what we have seen now in December, right? What did Cardano do? 4x, 5x, like many coins right now. Okay, it was a 10% move. This breakout until 82, very similar to what we have seen now. It lost the EMA, found its bottom, and the next break is not just we don't know how high in price and in RSI, but what was the key? While it was moving and reclaiming price action, which some coins are starting to do now, and Cardano seems to be ready. This is the final trigger, and by the time BTC dominance drops, Cardano is about 70 something, which, by the way, I said, which this is why the divisions you have here in colors, above 70 is the real bull territory, right? The biggest push is we have this because BTC dominance dropped. So 10% move, 5x. From here, this point, 70 something to 40, which is a 30% move. Three times that move. What did Cardano do? 25x. 10% move, no alt season, just some catch up. 4.5x. Alt season, crazy times, full euphoria, 25x, 3x there, 3 times these drop. It is not only 3 times these move, it's way more. It's insane until real overheating levels. So perhaps many don't expect this because PTSD or because they haven't gone through that. Personally, I haven't lived through this because I joined in around, yes, I was one of the plebs and the retail noobs that joined back here in April or something. So I managed, again, to leave this push, make you think, you know what you're doing, this is easy. And then you face reality. So I'm trying to study all these technicalities, all these behavior, right, from BTC dominance and price, because Twitter and X is going to be super noisy. It's going to be hell and misleading. And oof, I mean, BTC has just gone to 95k, and I've seen so many people posting frequently, every hour, every 30 minutes, every shitty TA is, let's say, valid because price allows it. But most people's TA is shit. It's just some squiggly lines and that's it. And because everything is pumping, it works, right? So I want to be ready for this. I want to be ready for BTC dominance dropping, losing this 60 something level. I'm gonna draw it here, right? The trigger would be a change in trend in market structure. So the moment it comes here to 60, right? Perhaps it goes down, or it bounces first, but it loses these. It's a change in structure. It's a lower low. Then perhaps it comes to the 6. I'm gonna clear this a little bit, right? Comes here, bounces, loses, and it rejects here at 0.6, the golden ratio. This is a lower low and a lower high, and this is the change in the trend. Reflected perhaps here in the weekly by losing the MA. Bam, bam, bam. Until perhaps something like this, something like that. How low? I don't know. But this would be the change in trend that I expect and that I'm waiting for, that I'm going to play. I'm not gonna be taking profit earlier simply because I think, okay, this is going too high too fast. Okay, let me see the indicators. I mean, I think we have seen enough data, even in euphoric phases, to have some reliable data to apply and to make a decision on, right? But price can be ridiculous in a month. Things get going 7x, and it's not over. So let's wait for BTC dominance. First of all, BTC has to lead, has to find its stop, has to say, okay, this is enough for the cycle. And if everything repeats, BTC dominance will drop, and the final phase of the market will happen. But I wouldn't discard another weekly cycle from BTC, right? Like the one we have seen plenty of times. I'm going to remove these drawings for now. One of these weekly cycles again, right? To make people think that perhaps this is the way this bull market works. Or even now, people are thinking, okay, this market there is no old season. There's just a few pumps here or there when BTC chills, right? That's the perfect recipe, right, for a true old season when nobody expects it, right? Perhaps BTC dominance rolls over fast and everyone is left behind. I'm forced to chase because of fear and disbelief. By the way, just to end this, I'm sure this video is taking too long, but you know, I like to just express what I think. This is the first time in a long time that I check the monthly candle. I did today, by the way, earlier today, to see this big boss. And I'm going to take this opportunity to mention this. I said this monthly reset allows for long push. I don't know if it's going to be choppy or if it's the end of the cycle kind of move, right? We have non-stop pushing until it gets way overheated, right? Because here we toyed with this again, we lost it. It's different, right? Because back here when we reclaimed it, it was the whole bull run above, right? And I said that normally when it's below, it's over, right? In 2021, we marginally print a high, it was below, but here, 2015, again, it was completely above the MA. So this, what made me positive is that, as I said a few times and also on the weekly, this has held while price has done that, and stock RSI is doing this. Reset in terms of momentum, holding the bull market strength level, so to speak. Bull market. Look where it retested and held what we have later, RSI wise, price wise. Kind of chopping around here when we cross this 60 kind of level, boom, right? We held it here for another push, but it stayed below, right? And we hold it here in summer, we pushed again, we didn't cross this RSI level, right? Which we could argue that this was an extended divergence, right? The same way these could also be the extended divergence, but the bullish ones in this case, right? If we cross here, like we did in September, which I posted about it, we can have a decent run. This was a 95%. Let's imagine we cross here now this month. We have another, let's say 95. This is perhaps dreaming. By the way, this would align with the Fibonacci ratio that I posted. I think it was around here from this top to the cycle bottom. Yeah, look at that. I think pretty much was here that week. Anyway, around 190k would be like a blow off top. If we manage to break this, why not? Even if it just ends here, starting here could be another extended, and we can have a blow off top move, right? Something like this. Why not? We have to remain open-minded. We have reclaimed the weekly, which is something that we were paying attention for quite some time, and it worked, man. This hold with this little deviation, this hold perfectly, this bounce that we were expecting, and since then, price has gone up 30% for BTC, and we just crossed it. The moment we cross here, we have a reset. This was the cross. 95%. So let's say from this cross, yeah, I mean, why not? Perfectly possible, right? So stay open-minded until we find some kind of overheating levels, right? Perhaps June, July, whatever. Stay open-minded, and again, if we see some kind of price like this for BTC and BTC dominance drops, I think we are not ready. Again, I've suffered enough in this market to be level-headed now. It's like when you're dead inside, you don't feel anymore. I've been through all the kind of emotions since 2021, euphoria, panic, depression, in terms of markets, I mean, trying to give up, trying to just think whatever the market gives me, I'll take that, and then we are so back, I'm finding new coins, and I mean every kind of state. And now just I'm fully focused on TA, and that's when clarity comes and everything aligns. And that's why I'm ready for this, for any kind of situation. We have small pump. We have a tremendous, ridiculous pump, which I think we might have. And the longer we consolidate here, we have acceptance of new price. People are not accumulating here like here in summer just for a 20-40% move. Anyway, we need to break this 95k level, right, to enter these decisively this last range of this top range, right, and have more confidence to attack the auto high. But since we have crossed the weekly and we have plenty of room, right, it was around 90. I mean, it would have to do really bad in 2 days to undo this, right? Or perhaps we have now a retest which coincides with something like 90, right, for a week or two, and then bam. Or we just go up non-stop, right? We just go up non-stop. That is the kind of move that I wouldn't try to outsmart. I think this is the time to be fully allocated intelligently, if possible, and just let it all run and see what the market takes us. Right? Okay, so I hope you have found something useful in probably a very long video. So I'll keep updating the market when anything relevant happens, and have a nice weekend.